All right, we're on 11.6, the Sage code. And I'm looking through it, and I want to point out, it looks what they're doing is plotting things. And this reminds me of a problem that we did. Let me just go back and scroll over that. And it reminds me of this problem over here. All right? Again, I'm a fan of technology. I think it's something that it actually helps us. And we're living in interesting times where technology is getting much more powerful, including be able to, express yourself verbally, and they'll express themselves verbally as well, just like humans do. All right, AI is really coming a long way. But anyway, what I'm going to do is over here, I'm using Sage. It's very formal. I have to give it, pretty good syntax and stuff. And I want to go through the code for you. All right, the way I'm going to do that is, let me pull up Sage first of all. I'm going to clear the screen. I'm going to type in reset. And by the way, I've already typed in the command, so I'm going to say that I think you should type that in too. But I've already typed this in. I'm going to type that in, see what happens. I'm reading it though. It looks like it's plotting something. I want to point out it's plotting two things. It's plotting this, and it's plotting this. So it's actually plotting the left and right side of the equation. All right? Let's see what happens. And it's generating a plot over here. And by the way, I definitely see the plot. All right? The question is, yeah, that's not the graph I wanted. Someone says, what graph did you want? I'm pretty much saying, I really prefer to see something that looks more like that. All right? What am I saying? Just a small section of it. All right, let me go back to the Sage code. Again, I didn't like a plot. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to restrict it. I'm going to say, could you stick between -3 and 12 for the x values? All right, let me go back. And I'm going to close this graph out. I'm going to go back to Sage. And I'm going to type this one in. And again, same command, but now I'm restricting it between -3 and 12 along the x-axis. And let's see what I look at. And I'm seeing the picture now. And it's more in line with what I saw before, by the way. So, I'm seeing this over here, I'm seeing this. But again, this is the part where I'm confused by. Now, if you went over to Solutions Guide, you notice that I talked about this region over here. A little bit confusing. So let me do this. Let me kind of get closer to it. And when I do that, I'm going to close this graph out. I'm going to go back to Sage. And I'm basically zooming into another region between -1 and 1. See what happens there. What am I getting? Well, I'm seeing this over here now. Now, granted, someone says, I still don't see that, all right? But I'm hoping that you start to see that you could basically, get closer and closer to that if you wanted to, all right? Let me just do a copy paste now. And let me just zoom into that. Just give me 1 second to do that. Now it's pixelated, there's no doubt about it, but I'm seeing 2 points, all right? Okay, so let's say you're starting to learn and you're wondering, can I, let me delete that. Could I get closer to that? And what I'm noticing over here, I'm gonna say, the x, I'm gonna say between 0.1 and 0 now. So what I wanna do is I wanna pull that up again, and I'm gonna say, well, let's do, instead of doing 0, let's do -0.1. And let's go up to 0.1 now. So 0.1. Return. And now I'm getting, a better understanding of what it looks like over here. Now, granted, you could also change the y's if you wanted to. And again, if you're learning, part of learning is adapting. And I'm going to type in y min. Whoops, let me pull this over so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to say y min is -0.1. And I'm going to say y max is going to be 0.1. Again, I'm learning by reading what I've just done. I'm adapting. And what do I got there? Someone says, oh, you missed it now. I did miss it. Let's go back and I'm going to move the y max to be bigger now, all right? So let's pull that up again, and I'm going to make it 0.5. Oops, I have to close it out, right? I'm seeing a better thing over here. And then someone says, well, you can even make it better by making it, I don't know, maybe 0.3. You're adapting, by the way. I would say learning in most part is adaptive, all right? Again, you could keep playing around with this all you want, by the way. Let me just close that out, close this one out, and I think I'm satisfied with that, all right? I've learned something about how to do that. Let me clear, whoops, clear. And what I want to do is go back to this Sage business over here. And I noticed this over here, and again, this is something very peculiar about copy-paste, by the way. This is something true in coding in general. And if I do this over here, it basically says there's something wrong with it. And I want to point out what's wrong with it. It's the tick marks. They're quote marks, and they need to be tick marks. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to do tick mark, and instead of doing each variable separately, I'm just going to copy them all. I'm going to paste them down. I'm going to put a tick mark on all of them now. And what it's doing is got the variables now A, B, C, X, Y, and Z. All right? Let me go back to my code. It's over here. I notice there's an equation over here. We'll go back over the notes in a second, by the way. I'm going to copy paste that in. And really what equation 1 is now a placeholder for that equation. And that equation is xy plus yz minus zx equals b. All right? What's the next equation going to be? This one over here. That's equation number 2. Going to go back to Sage and just copy paste. So what's equation number 2? It's xy minus yz plus zx equals c. All right? Let's do the third equation. And again, I'm just doing copy paste. And yes, I did type that in before. It didn't magically appear. What do you got there? Equation 3 is xy plus yz plus zx equals a. All right? Then what I do over here is I'm asking Sage to solve that for x, y, and z. All right? This is the system equation, 3 equations, 3 unknowns, and it's going to come back and report to me what x is, what y is, and what z is. All right? Now, granted, it might be hard for you to read. All right? And again, I really mean that. It may be hard for you to read that, by the way, but I can read that and write that down. I would use paper and pencil to do that. But what I want to do is I want to go back over the notes. And this is actually one of the problems from this problem set, and that's this problem over here. And all I did was I typed in 3 equations and asked Sage to solve it. Now, part of that is to verify that what I got is correct. All right? Now, granted, it may be difficult to read through the solution too, but I want to claim over here that you should be getting the same results. All right? Now, Sage sometimes does some strange stuff, by the way. And looking at this over here, you may have to write all that stuff down to find out, why do they look so different here? Looking at this over here. Looks like they got 2 solutions, right? Yeah, you may want to take a careful look at that by writing it down. And that's what's really kind of interesting about Sage, is that you probably have a tough time reading through this stuff over here. But again, if you write this down, and that takes time, you could do that easily. I also want to point out, if you know about LaTeX, you can actually get Sage to typeset this so it's actually more readable in a LaTeX document, by the way. All right, but I'm going to say over here, we completed out the Sage portion. Again, something for you to think about. Let me go back over that. Plotting functions, assigning, equation 1, equation 2, equation 3, assigning variables, so forth and so on. Thank you.